The world has turned against this. They have not done it.
Oh my.
There has been...
Data transfer complete.
All right.
Waggoner, I have seen.
Welcome to another great show of APN TV Media, the Author Publishers Network. As a matter of fact, Bob, coming up this whole from now to 2018, or I should say in 2018, we'll be having a lot of surprise guests coming up.
Oh.
So I'm talking about double up guests, two
That'll
on
be
screen
good.
and two in a set. So what you think?
All right. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, I'm ready for it.
You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Well, today we got something for you. And I've got something for you also as well. Check this out. We're going to have, on the first startup, we're going to have Stephen Bean. Okay, now Stephen Bean has a book written, it's about marketing. Okay, and when we get in there, it's pretty awesome because there's some things I want to talk to him about, but we're also going to talk about some things when we were young and we grew up and we used to wear ties and stuff like that. And now today things change because now it feels like we're kind of alienated
Right.
because wearing ties is not, it's like the thing of the past. But you know, we'll get into that, which is pretty humorous. Anyway, his book is titled The Stephen Factor. Again, it's a marketing book, very professional, very exciting, to tell you
Yes.
the truth. Uplifting, like to feel like I can do it.
Yeah.
Get out there and get my hustle on.
That's it.
And then the second guest that we have on the show today, which is pretty cool, legendary Tom Waggoner. Now, Tom Waggoner has a family book. I don't want to say just a children's book. It's a family book. And the family book is titled Danger in the Hills.
Oh, yes.
Okay, yes. Now, it's deep because one of the things about that, it is family oriented, and it's a struggle of if I get this right, it's a beaver, right?
Groundhog.
Groundhog. Why did I did it yesterday, didn't I?
Yes, you
I
did.
kept calling it a beaver. We started reading it.
did.
I'm saying, it's this beaver in his family, beaver in his family. And I should have thought about when I used to live on the river up here.
Maybe you were thinking of Leave It to Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver, huh? Yeah. I'm sorry, to correct it. It's the groundhog. And the groundhog and his family, right? And was trying to move, but they had to deal with a lot of struggles and things like that. So I'll tell you what, before I keep messing this up and goofballing it, all right, because I'm creating my own characters now. We're going to have Steve come up after this. How about that?
Okay, sounds good.
You think so?
Yes,
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Sure?
Yep,
Okay,
I'm
we
ready.
got it. All right, we'll talk about it. Welcome back, yes. Welcome back. Steve, oh my goodness, Stephen, I should say Stephen. You know, the Stephen Factor, your book is incredible about marketing. But one of the things about that, and well, you know, I should just let you get started on it, but I have to share this. I mean, just with your background, I mean, in the marketing arena, you've had the, you started out in the marketing arena in 1966?
Yes, I did.
Well, go ahead. Tell us a little bit.
No, I started out actually with the idea of becoming a psychologist.
Yes.
So I did. I went to, I got a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in clinical psychology, and but at the time, clinical psychology wasn't in vogue. So it was mainly experimental. So ended up going into business and used all the skills that I learned in the psychological arena to create my own marketing models and to market products in 3 or 4 or 5 different businesses, because marketing is really a study of applied psychology. And you're dealing with people, so the more you know about people, the better marketer you can be.
So in other words, you use what you study in psychology for marketing, which is actually correct.
Yeah, I think it's actually a very good thing to study in preparation for becoming a marketer. The mechanics of marketing can be learned along the way. But the ability to be empathetic and understanding the psychic economy of the people that you are trying to sell products to is something that really involves the field of psychology.
And it's also like target marketing.
Yeah,
targeting your audience.
Right. Well, in all forms of marketing, you're not selling to everybody, so you're targeting a specific audience.
Okay.
Like, for example, with Apple. They come out with the iPhone 10, and they have what is called in the field early adopters. And an early adopter is someone who will stand all night long, outside the store because they have to have it. And then there's a series of other types of buyers who go
wait,
later.
back up. Okay, the ones that's a good question. Did you catch that, Bob?
Yeah, the early adopters.
The ones that stand outside are the what?
They're called early adopters. These are people who there's no decision time necessary. They see something new, they're impulsive, and they have to have it right away, to the point that they will stand outside all night long in freezing weather in order to get it immediately. And then there's a series of other categories which end up with people who say, I've got to see it for a couple of years, then maybe I'll buy it. Not sure.
Yes, but that's, I could never figure that out. Why would they stay outside? I mean, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, or they sleep overnight, when all of a sudden Apple has a new phone out. So there's a new phone, all of a sudden, boom, everybody's out there waiting to get in line. I'm like, man, that's mortgage payment. You know what I'm saying? $600, a pop, and yet they're going to stand outside in the cold with $600 waiting to get the phone. But let me ask you something. What is it that gets them to, let's say Apple, what they did this past year, they made one phone, and then within the next 3 months, they made another higher level phone, and the people still gravitated to it and did the same thing. The adapters, they went out and they spent staying all in the morning time waiting to get a phone. Why is that? What's with the psychological aspect of that?
I think what you're asking is, why would somebody stand in line rather than wait or buy another phone? And I think that some of it has to do with being obsessive compulsive. They have to have it right away. There's something part of their psyche that requires that when they don't have a waiting time built into their mind. They have to have it right away. If they like it, they want it now. And if they don't get it now, then they may have some anxiety problems.
Makes sense.
But most people are not early adopters. Only so many people are early adopters. The better part of the marketplace is a group of people that start with early adopters and end up with people who say, but I need to think about it for a couple of years. Then they finally decide they buy it on its merits. They're not driven to buy it, So there's all kinds of people out there in the marketplace, and as a marketing person, you have to decide what you want to do and how you want to do it in an economically sane way. It's particularly true, I think, of electronics, where people are attracted to electronic things. And then there's a generational thing involved too. If you have the millennium crowd, they buy in a certain way, and if you have older people, they buy in a certain way. And so you have to factor in a number of variables before you actually put together a marketing campaign.
Wow. Hey, Bob?
Well, I was thinking the early adopters probably only focus on a very limited number of products. In other words, they couldn't be doing this with a whole lot of products. They're interested, like a person's interested in electronics. He's going to be an early adopter on a phone or maybe a computer, and that's going to be it. but they probably stretch the limits as far as products go. You know, you probably any product probably has a certain number of them. I'm just guessing, but would that be true?
Yeah, it's product specific. You have people that are electronically oriented, and they can be early. There's an early adopter for that. You can have clothing early adopters. Women's clothes are marketed that way, where the woman sees something new that came out, she has to get it right away. Or it can be any product whatsoever. It can be tools that people use. It can be anything at all. But if you have to have, you can't be an early adopter for everything. It's not generally true that you're just categorically you're an early adopter. So that everything comes out you could buy. You have a house full of products if you did that. So it's specific usually.
That's what I was wondering. I thought,
Yeah,
that had to be specific, and so you probably, aren't going to have much of a market strategy for them because they're going to be, I would think, a small percentage of the people you sell your product to.
That's correct.
And so you're marketing then to the general public primarily, who are across the board, and but still that's to find something that is, to make it interesting to the general public, to draw them in. That seems like that would not be an easy thing to do.
No, it's a difficult thing to do. I find that there are 5 primary buying motives: fear, greed, exclusivity, guilt, and the need for approval. And if you build those all into your marketing campaign, one or more of them will get the person in. Every marketing campaign I put together, either for myself or for clients, has all those components in it: fear, greed, exclusivity, guilt, and the need for approval. And then the marketing model that I would apply that to is called AIDA, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. And if you have AIDA working with the 5 primary buying motives, you got a very strong chance of making the sale. And you have to pay a lot of attention to, when you do a marketing program, people are always very excited and they're positive. But I start the other way around. What's the cost of being wrong? Because the cost of being wrong can put you out of business. So we know what the cost of being right is. It's success. And the reason that a lot of marketing campaigns fail is because the people that design them are really not professional marketers, and they understand their product, but they're not aware of how to best represent it in the mind of the buyer. You always have to think like the buyer, not like the seller.
Oh, very good. Very good. One of the things about the Stephen Factor book, everything he's talking about is basically inside the book. Your book is very sophisticated, but yet well understood. I have to say it that way. It is sophisticated, there's no doubt about that, but it's well understood. So, I mean, even somebody from, I'll say from mid-level, let's say 8th grade, I don't know what it's called, middle school or junior high, I don't know what it is this year or this time, but they can understand it, and you elevate our steps. That's what you're doing in the marketing arena, because that's what I was just getting at, because what you were sharing about that adapter, and I'm like, wow, but you actually use the philosophical way to understand, psychology-wise, to understand how a person would think, what makes them tick. That's why I say target marketing, that's where it fits in that category, target marketing. Like I always call that term about pet rocks. I said, what made everybody run to a pet rock? I mean, my gosh, we used to put mud on rocks, and make little faces on it, and I don't see nobody coming to my house to buy it. But all of a sudden, somebody put a little paint on it, and before that was with a chia pet on top, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's cute. And I'm wondering how, how are you gravitating to it? It's a certain group. Out of 1 billion people, there's always something for somebody. And you just got to know how to set that parameter. Is that correct? Parameter.
Right. You have to develop unique selling features for every product.
Yes.
That's a technical term. Every product has to have unique selling features for someone to be uniquely interested in it. It's not just a rock, it's with a face on it. And there's a buyer for every rock with a face on it.
Yes.
And that's somewhat the basis of eBay. There's a buyer for everything, and Amazon as well.
Yeah, that's where Amazon capitalizes on it. But now they're using the AI technology to determine the selling factor for each person, each household, which is really interesting. And that was according to when because I watch stock every night, or every afternoon. Matter of fact, all day long, don't I? Pretty much until 4 o'clock in closing. Then afterwards, of course, you have what's his name, the madman guy. Anyway, they were saying that now
Kramer, right?
Kramer, yes. That now since AI, and I'm just all entitled with marketing because stock, it's all about marketing. Because we had just got some more stock, and we was watching GE and how GE crumbled, and I'm like, no, there's no way it would crumble when you got a CEO who bought over $1 million worth of stock. The CEO in the company buys $1 million worth of stock. So he saw something in that. And at the same time, if anybody caught on to the commercials with the with the commercials were about the drones. These drones now that they are making people put these things on their head that you could actually use your mind and signals. That's all they are, signals. And the signals will, it's like remote control, but instead using your mind. And this product is from GE. And I'm like, gee, and then and that, of course, in stock, when you go to their website and see it, you see how they tied it all together, that they're still going, they're still growing. So when I look at that and I go, well, then, okay, this buy-sell thing, you've got to know what you're doing. It's all about marketing strategy. And then I went back to Amazon. It's kind of so funny, it goes in the whole full circle. A whole room full of nerds, that's what this is. I love it. Okay, you've got, they're using artificial intelligence to decipher it. Now, if anybody know about their television program, and those of you that's watching the screen right now, I guarantee you 220% that as you're watching the show, watch the program, that marketers are actually watching you. Because it is designed for Comcast, AT&T, and for those of you in New York, Verizon, and those of you in Atlanta, Georgia, and Louisiana, you have these product systems, like Cisco and all of them, that actually is part of AI intelligence, but it's their job to target a market audience. And a target market audience is one of those where they know what, how much you make, your household, the rural area, the locations, all this. And here's makes it easier. All you got to do is go to Walmart or Walgreens on your tablet or computer. And as you look at it, what happens is on your computer, you see it there because it's called impressions. And what happens is if you go to Facebook, guess what? You see the same thing again. And you really won't realize it. It's psychological. It's called, the imagery. And what happens is we actually, notice I'm saying we, because yes, I've been a part of that. That's why I know. And that the impressions, that actually you bring it over to the Facebook, you see it again, and then before you think about, something else, it's subliminal image, you'll start, oh my gosh, maybe I should get it. There's one time I said to my sister, wait a minute, didn't I just buy this cologne? Why are they showing it? Then all of a sudden I saw it flipped from the polo blue to polo double black. And I said, now I know somebody's got to be knowing this. And if anybody know about last month, Facebook's got this thing with because we use Messenger, that our voice, that we're using the voice that we talk to each other, Messenger. And it's just like in our email since the 9/11, which is legal. We think it's not, but it actually is because it's about a safety feature. The only time it's illegal in such a weird way, but we signed those check-offs on Facebook saying that, just like the Audible, when our sound, our voice, it picks up certain key words, like meta tags. Certain key words will actually induce that whole impression, if you understand that concept. And the other part about this is, I gathered quite a bit out your book, so I kind of put it all together anyway. But inside your book, it's stuff in marketing strategies. I love marketing. And I was like, oh my God, this is sophisticated. I love it. Ooh, and so I started messing around. And I was like, honey, let's look. And I'm looking on the stock, and I'm going, I wonder if I can do that. And then when I started getting to the books, okay, in the publishing industry-wise, and I said, okay, I got this one book versus this book, that book. how can I work on each one, just tailor each one? And that's what publishing house is supposed to be doing, marketing, like you say. And I was talking about target marketing. And so we put a big sign up showing, how we're going to generate sales off of each book and how we're going to target the audience. That's something we did, a few weeks ago. So yes, I utilize your book just to check it out to see how it works. And I'm going to be honest with you, it is pretty effective. It is pretty effective. As a matter of fact. Yeah, so I congratulate you on your book. Thank you. And I tell you what, give us a few moments because I didn't talk enough, and we'll be right back after this with Stephen Bean and the Stephen Factor. Welcome back. Okay, Stephen, I know I got some questions for you, and so, is there anything you would like to say before I get started on some of these questions?
Well, a couple things probably. When I put this book together, when you write a book, it's a collective process, and these are articles that had been published in the magazine that I write for over a period of years that I had written, and I have an outstanding editor by the name of Bob Neiman, who is, without him, my articles wouldn't be as good as they are. And I have a very good graphic designer by the name of Jennifer Gabris, because if you'll notice, every chapter has a graphic. And I think that it's easier on the eyes of the reader to have something other than just print. And all the chapters are short. Sometimes people ask me how I got into writing. It's sort of an interesting story. I got into writing because I had an aunt who was a famous writer by the name of Ann Landers. And if you are old enough to remember Ann Landers, she had enormous popularity and offering advice as to how you should live your life.
Okay.
And I used to send her my articles, and she used to tell me they're very good, you should do more. And she never said, I suggest. She was very direct and dictatorial. And she said, you should do more. So I said, okay, whatever you say. And that's how I actually got into writing, because I was sort of exposed to it through her.
her name again is?
Ann Landers.
Ann Landers. Sounds
Yeah, she was
familiar.
very
famous.
Very famous. She was in a couple thousand newspapers
Yeah.
around the United States.
Okay.
She was voted, I think, the most influential woman in the United States at one time.
Yes.
And in her time, which wasn't that long ago, she was extremely well known.
Oh, very well known. She was, when I was a kid, you always heard of Ann Landers and her columns. Yeah, she was as well known as any columnist I ever heard of.
Yeah, she absolutely was. Yes.
Let us know, how is your book structured? I mean, generally structured as?
The book is structured over, excuse me, about 50 chapters, and each chapter is different, and they're mutually exclusive. In other words, you could read chapter 19 before you read chapter 26, and it won't take away from the continuity of what I'm saying. It's based upon two general broad categories. One is retention marketing. In other words, how do you keep the customers you have? And the other one is acquisition marketing. How do you get new customers over and above the ones you have, so that you keep growing? That's the secret to growth. You have to see new faces and old faces all the time, and then you know you're going in the right direction. And then in the middle of all that are the technicalities of how to write copy, effective copy, how to present your ad, how to buy them in an economically sane way. I do a lot of television commercials. I do television production for myself and for others because I'm a firm believer that print is rough, and that people believe pretty much what they see. And if they're seeing it on television, it develops a certain status in their mind because if it wasn't any good, it wouldn't be on television. That's what people think. If you doubt that statement, you can watch any football game, and every time they pan the audience, these people can't wait to be jumping up and down, waving their arms. They got to get on TV. Who they're waving to, we don't know, but they're waving. Okay, and so being on television has a certain celebrity in itself to what you're advertising. But if they get something in the mail that says, we're advertising a steakhouse or whatever it is, half the time they just throw it away.
It's true.
So it's all about the marketing method that you use. For example, television I think is more important than radio. I used to do radio commercials, but I think radio is really listened to mainly in the car, and we used to call it giving the people a little windshield time. And they're listening to radio commercial. They can't write it down. They hardly remember it. But if they're at home watching television, it makes a visual impact. On what they're watching, and their television commercials are eminently successful depending upon the product.
Wow, yes. One more before we go to our next break. With our next guest, the readers. Who are your potential and generalized readers?
For my book is sort of a niche book, and people that read my book can be in any field whatsoever. It's not particularly. It was on the cover. It's the subhead on the cover. The subheadline is that it's all the marketing lessons that I learned from the coin laundry industry, which is the industry that I'm in, but applicable to whatever industry you happen to be in, because they can be generalized to any industry. And so everybody can read the book. It's like there used to be a book out called Everything I Know Today I Learned in Kindergarten. Don't steal from people, be nice to people, the general rules of behavior. And the same is true with my book. But you can take my book and apply it to whether you sell hardware or you're in the clothing business or whatever business you're in, and you can use the principles. And if you do them right and you do them often correctly, you will find that they generally work. The main problem with people that go into business, small business, is that they understand their product very, very well. That's why they went into business. That they're good at. They're very good at that. But they're just not schooled in how to advertise their product to the consumer that they're trying to reach. And they don't understand generally the technicalities of demographics and how to use demographics, because demographics in every industry are your destiny, actually. And so if you misread the demographics or don't read the demographics, then you're preaching to the wrong choir, because they're not interested in your product. So, and marketing can be very expensive. They used to say that, I still say it, that there's a lot of money in marketing, especially for people who sell it.
Yes.
But you've got to be able to get, make 1 + 1 = 3 and get it back.
That
So,
means you do have to know your demographics. You have to know the area.
you have to know your demographics, and people are bombarded with advertising. And so the two most common words I find in advertising on the part of the recipient are, yeah, sure, because they don't believe you, see? So your ads have to portray the quality called verisimilitude. And verisimilitude is the ability to appear truthful and honest and forthright and upright and correct. And if they smell that it doesn't have that quality, then you're out before you're in. So there's an art form to it. It's about understanding the psychology of the buyer, not projecting yourself as a seller into what it's about. The typical mistake that sellers make is they will tend to feature features rather than benefits.
Like a vacuum cleaner salesman.
Well, like the vacuum. If I'm a vacuum cleaner salesman and I knock on your door and I tell you this vacuum cleaner has so many amps, so many watts, the motor is a certain type of motor, it's wound a certain way, you're saying, I don't care about that. So, but if I tell you this vacuum cleaner will enable you to clean your whole house in 32 minutes, you say, now you're talking my language. Okay, so it's about everybody in my experience listens to the same radio station. It's called WII-FM. It's an FM station. Those call letters stand for what's in it for me. That's all they care about, what's in it for me. So if I tell you that the motor is a certain type of motor, I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me. I don't care about the motor. What's this thing going to do for me that's going to make me want to buy that motor for that vacuum cleaner from you, and actually take money out of my pocket and give it to you? You give it to me. Okay, because it's not easy to get people to take money out of their pocket and buy something, because they're bombarded with choice. And today is particularly difficult to market because with a click, they can get a competitive price. They don't have to go to a store, and they don't have to call a store to find out what that sport coat cost or whatever. They can just see what somebody's charging, click, click, click. They can see what somebody else is charging. So it's marketing today has changed dramatically.
Wow, very good, very good. And that's what goes well with your book. Is sophisticated, well-written, and easily understood. I have to say it that way, just the way you brought it out to your readers and to all of us. And I thank you for coming on the show. I would love to have you come back again.
Yeah,
Okay, Stephen Bean with the Stephen Factor. And we'll be right back with our second guest, Tom Waggoner, after this. Yes. Welcome back. And I have my good friend, Tom Waggoner. Did I say it right? Tom
Well
Waggoner.
done. Well done.
Thank you. Hey, I'm glad to have you here today. Your book is insane. I'm sorry that I kept saying it. The book is titled Danger in the Hills. And it's funny. The first thing when I read it, and I told you, I said, "Ooh, that's kind of a little dark there." But it's because it's a family book, and the struggles. And watch this. I'm not even going to look at the front no more, and I'm not going to think about. I always call it one. I call it one thing, but it's something else. It's a groundhog. How in the world do I keep coming up with beaver? I know you got all the animals in there.
You're from the east, so there's more beavers out there.
No! The book is, and I have to say it again, it's a family struggle, okay? Can I kind of say that he's being the head of the family? Mm-hmm. He's trying to, move from one place to the other, but the adversities that he goes through. And you're cheering on, see, when you pick a character, you gravitated to it, okay? And so you grab not only suspense, and you grab the character, but you grab an adventure. And the one thing also that I'm glad that you mentioned is the grandmother will actually get involved because she has the child in the lap. And so you've got a family pictorial involved. And as they're reading together, whether you realize it or not. When you have, even back in the day, I mean, it's nice to have people to read. So when you have, I mean, talk about families, and families get involved, now you have I'll say this, not parameter, but a moral compass where the compass surrounds the family. So then when you're done reading, both sets in the family understands each other more so, as well as understanding what the morals itself brings that
value. And of course the parent, the grandparent doing the reading is imparting the morals to the child, and as the child grasps that, they get on the same wavelength with the parents then, and it's a good way. It's a good way to indoctrinate the children into what is right, what is wrong, and how to get where you want to be, or how to get what you want the right way instead of doing it the wrong way, which, as kids, if a kid sees something and they can just grab it and take off with it, a lot of times they'll do that because they haven't learned yet that, well, you're not supposed to do that. But once they learn it, and once they see, okay, here's the right way to do it, that helps them in their development a great deal. And that's what I think this book is doing, helping the development of a child when they are read this or they read it themselves.
I do. The way that the values in the story I really hoped to come together was that it would be gripping, and there are enough cliffhangers in it to keep them engaged to the end, and you sneak in the right and wrong and how they behave. So they see how things are resolved, they see how the interaction occurs, and so you hope you get those quiet values, if you will, worked in while you're telling a story.
Release a couple more books?
Yes, I have other books in me and other books related to this.
Kind of spiral off from it.
I think there's opportunity for that. I hope that this continues to have people's interest, and there's enough of a demand off of this to do other things, Steve.
In other words, we're promoting the side of this. It's the cliffhanger portion. Okay, when it's a cliffhanger, that means there's opportunity, and then when there's opportunity, that means instead of saying, I'm gonna go wait for the second book. No, I encourage you to read it, because a lot of people say, wait till the no. You have to understand the features in the beginning. Like in the show, feature presentation. Okay, you start off reading, and then once you get to it, then you understand whether your interest will be piqued to want to see the next movie or the next book or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, and in Monroe here, this is where I grew up. We used to have the Majestic Theater down the east side, and they showed all these old movies on the big screen. They showed the Dick Tracy serials there, and every one of those ended with Dick Tracy being about to go off a cliff or have a train run over him, and you had to watch the next one to see how Dick Tracy came through this alive, which is exactly what you're doing with these books. The cliffhanger, you're, oh, look at this, and then you got to go to the next chapter to see what happens. I couldn't help thinking of Dick Tracy when you were saying this.
Yeah, for some reason, that's what it is venturous. But you put it in animals, and that's interesting, because if you notice that there's a lot of shows that's been out in animation that they did in a way where, like the one of the bumblebee, they had a bee one besides more than just Kung Fu Panda. No, there's ones that has some type of moral, like I say, moral compass in it, like the bee or the. Can anybody think of any other ones before? I just recently watched that one. Ants. There was another one called Ants before then. So there's something that gravitates the family to, even it has a little dark in it, but it's only because the fact that that part grabs you to a suspense or, wow, what's going on? So let me be honest with you, when it gets like that, it kind of grabs the next age bracket. It pulls the next age bracket in. I have to say it that way. Not for just the young kids, but then to the adults. We're all curious. So because it's a little bit more serious, and that's where I say there's some value in it. Also, this what brings to mind the difficulty. What's the difficulty in writing this book?
Well, I would take my hat off to anybody. I know you're an author. Bob, I don't know if you're an author, but probably are, aren't you?
Yes.
And to write a book well is really hard work. And so I would just encourage anybody that's watching this, whether you're a writer or a singer or a painter or whatever you might want to do or be, try it. And just recognize there's work to it, but the fact that you enjoy it, it's plenty of reward in and of itself. So I would say there's that quandary, if you will, a little bit, that to do it well is a lot of work, but there's satisfaction when you're done with it. For me, this book has a life of its own now, and there are people who have contributed to it in many ways, known and unknown, and I got the privilege of actually, writing it. But now that it's there, it's a kind of a living, breathing thing. And I would just say to anybody that wants to write, recognize to do it well is hard work, but to do anything well is hard work.
Yeah.
But do it. Try it. Whatever you like to do creatively.
You know what? I'm going to add something that is going to be a little different here. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to throw nothing crazy out except for one thing. I would like to know, do you have a few favorite characters in the book, and why?
Okay. I think that the central figure of the book, Ernie, is who I have as the person that knits the story from beginning to end. I've had people stop me and and I don't want to give too much away here,
Very
but
good.
the bear that is in the story and the snake that is in the story are the other characters that kind of help frame the past and the present, and there's also some future. So those three characters in particular, I think, are framework characters. And I will tell you, I don't know how other people write the book, but the way that I approached this was to write the ending and then go back and do the structure. And that gave me a lot of ability, if you will, to move the parts and pieces around, as well as create set pieces for future editions of this if I want to go that direction. But those three characters in particular, I've been told by others that they enjoy them the most.
Wow.
There's a place inside my mind unseen, dreams of you and I that just can't be, but I can keep them safe and locked away inside. In a perfect world where I control it, give me your heart there and I would hold it. But I know that just can't be reality. But please, don't you wake my daydream, 'cause it's so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds said to jump, then I will do it. Right into the fire and walk straight through it. And if you knew, I bet that's just what you would say. I guess the only thing for me to do is never let you know just how I'm feeling. 'Cause I don't want to know if you don't feel the same. It's a shame. Don't you hate my daydream? 'Cause it's so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds, but for now I'll just daydream. 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 There's a place inside my mind unseen, dreams of you and I that just can't be. But I can keep them safe and locked away inside, inside. But don't you hate my daydream? Oh, so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds, but for now I'll just daydream. Don't you hate my daydream?